All right, all right. This is something that we did not expect in all of our year of years. It's been 4 years, damn near, since we've done this. But I want to welcome everybody to the Triple Beam Streams High School Reunion.
We did not agree on that lead-in.
Starring myself, Justin, here with our guy, Pafif, Eric, and of course the armchair auteur himself, Dom, who, I mean, to be honest, Dom has crafted his own career, spun off from all of us and just shit on all of us in terms of everything.
Good.
But what's up, pals? What's going on?
Dom has a podcast out every day.
Yeah, he does. Like, and it's consistent.
Just once a week.
No, I know, but it's a lot for a one-man op.
It is a little weird, yeah. It is like, this is nice. It's like, oh, cool, I'm not alone on this.
Yeah, well, I remember I used to do podcasts by myself for years, just talking to myself, and I would just listen back to it and have to edit it, and I hated it so much. I was like, I gotta get guys. I gotta get guys.
I gotta get some guys in here.
Yeah, I gotta get some guys. How is everybody? I mean, I talk to you guys all the time, but obviously our listeners, some listeners, I don't know where I'm gonna put this, but like some listeners probably hear Dom all the time. Some listeners probably hear me like weekly at this point. A lot of people haven't heard from Pafif and Eric in a really long time.
I don't think I have any news. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Same old thing. I don't know.
Pat, you wrote on a successful show since.
Has that not been okay? Yeah, I mean, I was a writer on the television show Heels on the Stars Network. That was very good. I moved to Sherman Oaks.
Don't tell people that. They're gonna try.
I mean, I post about it all the time.
Okay.
And Silk Song, the sequel to Hollow Knight, is still not out, even though Hollow Knight came out 2 years before the last time we recorded.
That is true.
So if anybody from Team Cherry is listening, I'm waiting.
Eric, what have you been doing, bro?
I think the last time Pat and I were heard on the same wavelength was the cable box era of RNC when I was a special guest on his Barry recap, Barry season 2 recap special.
Yeah, it was a good season.
Since then, Barry has ended. Succession has ended. Better Call Saul has ended.
Over.
The
MCU has ended.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna talk about that a little bit on this episode. But like, there's been so much stuff has happened. I think, and for those who don't remember, or for those who don't know, like the four of us hosted a show called Late Fees, which transformed into Triple Beam Streams at the worst time possible. It was literally months before the pandemic hit. So like, we literally were like, let's just watch all the Ninja Turtle movies, and then like, we were just doing all of that at one point. And I think that like, after a while, the pandemic kind of fucked everything up. Like nothing was really the same after that, and we had to basically we soft finale the show. Is that the best way to put it? I know Pat would probably come up with a better name for it, but we soft ended the show, if for lack of a better term.
It was sort of like a dramatic pause, just kind of. Yes.
We disappeared along with the state of American politics. Just disappeared without any type of alarm or alert. We just disappeared. But now we are back for this one-off, and I've been thinking about doing this episode for a really long time. I was like, how do I get the four of us in one room again? I know all of our schedules. Well, my schedule's not busy at all anymore. So that's the number one thing that had me like.
That was the one thing that helped here.
Yeah. Also, mine not nearly as helpful, but mine also is about as unbusy.
Yeah,
I'm busy as fuck.
I see, and I'm glad that you took time out of your fucking day to do this. Thank you so much, Eric.
My day's mostly consumed by my giant dog. But other than that, yeah. Work is picking back up, ramping back up. Season 5 of the Kardashians Hulu original. So if you don't see me for a while, Kris Jenner got the blicky to me.
What is it like doing that? I don't know how much you can reveal, but what is it like working on a show like that? Like,
If I say too much, you're gonna see like a red sniper dot coming off from the from the grassy knoll over there, third shooter.
Eric's Avid has a bomb in it like Android 16.
No, it's fine. It's we are in the middle of shooting and cutting both season 5 and season 6 at the same time.
Shit.
And we're kind of like just ramping up into post. So yeah, it's just like any other show, except with like the weight of basically like CIA style surveillance on its workers, as to not reveal too much as I'm doing now. But yeah, I'm going on year 4 of this longest show I've ever been on.
That's crazy.
No, why don't you just get on Twitter and you'll be off that show in no time.
That's right.
I mean, the thing about Erik is that he definitely pulled up to my house the other day in a cyber truck, so I definitely know that he's getting paid very well from Miss Kris Jenner. Just saying.
I wouldn't be caught dead in the cyber truck.
Eric's cyber truck, it's Dean was breathed on it, so it's rusting like all the way through.
But that is crazy that today they just announced the Apple car is dead. They're not working.
Yeah, they just gave up on that shit. They were like, nah.
I think the whole EV market it sounds like it's going to shit.
Lyft dumped their self-driving car like fleet onto like Toyota for a loss. Like the 5 more years self-driving car shit is cooked.
It's almost like the totally non-existent infrastructure for driving one of these cars more than 100 miles not existent is impacting the market and normal people wanting to buy one.
Yeah, it's been vaporware since its inception. It's just it's just like a speculative, much like NFTs and shit, just meant to goose the market and then immediately bail.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm obviously on TikTok a lot. And there was this TikTok of somebody saying, here's how I charge my Tesla in Texas where there are no superchargers. So I have to drive 50 miles to go supercharge my car on a slow supercharger and then go home. And I'm just like, dude, why?
This is in the Tesla state, by the way.
Right.
Exactly.
What's crazy about that is like, I feel like if you're deciding to get an electric car, the first thing you do is look and see how many like charging stations are in your area.
Yeah.
So like if there are none and you bought that fucking car, did you think they were just going to build them later? Did you think you could just get like a power bank or something? Like Anchor would just put out one, you just put in the passenger seat. Like, no, like you
fill up your battery and carry it around like a spare gas tank on a pickup truck.
Well, a lot of people put them in their houses and shit. And it's like, you know, that's cool too, but it's like that's also depending on where he lives. The guy lived in an apartment complex, and I'm just like, if they don't have them, then like that shows you just how popular that thing is.
Yeah.
But thinking of the Apple car, or going back to the Apple car, it's like, what would that have even looked like? That I feel like even with like Apple and their Vision Pro, like the AR VR mashup that's not doing super hot right now. Is it just like
are people like taking it back because it like makes your eyes fall out?
Yeah. I think I saw a report that they're at like, I don't know, Mac Rumors put out that they're only like 1% return rates or something, but I feel like that might be a work. I can't imagine that many people are keeping this. Or you know what I would love to get the data on like active users 6 months from now, like how many people are like using it, or is it just people with money to burn and it's just sitting somewhere like a Damien Hirst skull, but it's just there.
Like a Cybertruck, or you know, the actual Apple car. I think that it's interesting that again, like we live in like cities that are very much like EV friendly, so like we kind of miss a lot of it. Like everywhere I turn, it's a fucking Tesla. But you look at
and the Mustangs are everywhere.
Yeah, like it's crazy how that's all turned out. But I want to get to the reason I brought you all together here, and that's because we can't. I'd be remiss to not mention that this is the cinematic event of the year. that we're walking into right now. You see it. You see it in the description. You see it on our background. Shout out to Mark for our background here. We're here to talk about Dune.
I kind of thought he would be here.
No, he's here in spirit. He's here in spirit. I want to shout him out because he works super hard on making this special for us and giving us a really cool way to do it, because we didn't do video. We didn't used to do this.
No,
never. Yeah.
Oh, and also, I mean, everyone knows this if they're listening to this, but Mark moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah, he calls it Los Angeles. He calls it Los Angeles. You know that gets on my nerves. He's gonna hear this and be like, "Why does it get on your nerves?" It gets on my nerves.
Because he doesn't say LA?
He says it like out. He like it's weird that like people
inefficient.
Yeah. Shorten it. Don't say the whole thing. Shorten it.
I say the whole thing when I'm not in Los Angeles.
You just did it.
When you go back home to your family, you're like,
because I don't want people like, where are you? I'm from LA. Like, yeah.
Well, of course, we're here to talk about.
I say Los Angeles like Sam Elliott.
We're here to talk about Dune 2, the sequel to Dune. Should have been out last November. Coming out in what I think is actually it's a better time for it to come out right now. I think it's probably the best time
for it too.
Yeah, like I think November. Strangely to think, I don't think it would have done as well as November as it is now, because you have that 4-month lead in right now where it was like, oh, we really wanted to see it. Now there's so much more hype. I feel like Timothée Chalamet is way bigger than he was, because Wonka had to come out, and at that point, Wonka would have been the second one. Hey, Wonka was a hit. You laugh, Wonka?
Yeah, no, it was.
I heard it was. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was actually like good enough for what it was.
Yeah, like his cachet grew. Zendaya hasn't been on screen in a while. Her movie got pushed. Challengers actually comes out a month after this in April. But now we're on the cusp of Dune 2. Dom, you've seen it. You talked about it at length on your page on Armchair Auteur. But I really just want to get all of our excitement. Are you going to see it again this weekend? Or are you going to try?
Yeah. I don't know when this weekend, but I got to see it again. I saw it on a Dolby screen at an AMC, and it was like perfect. There's one Dolby house at the AMC in Georgetown that I got to see. Like, I got to see Ferrari there. I saw Dead Reckoning there. Every time I go, it's always like the perfect thing. But now I got to see it bigger. I got to see it like in the full IMAX. But that's going to be. I have so few real IMAX options in the city around here. Like, a lot of the places like never returned post COVID. And I don't want to give fucking Regal money to watch it on one of their slightly larger than normal screens for twice the price. Like, they're not going to get me on that shit again.
Yeah.
But it's such a big movie that, like, I want to see it as large as humanly possible. Like, if I could go see it outside on a building, I would.
I just looked, and we're seeing it Friday, which is 2 days from now, and we are seeing it in IMAX.
Okay,
nice.
And I think that's a real IMAX screen. It's not the one at the fucking Science Center, but
AMC Burbank 16.
Number one theater on planet Earth.
We know it. Everyone's heard about the Burbank 16. Everyone knows about the Burbank 16. Come on, everybody knows. But what's interesting to me, and I want to get you guys' take on it, is how major Dune as an IP is right now in our current state. Like, when the first one came out, it was pandemic, of course. And it did well. It did relatively well for one of the last movies to be out in theaters on a screen. I went to go see it masked up in an IMAX theater, the only one that was open.
Chinese
at that time. And no, I remember I was still in Long Beach, so I had to go.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I had to go to Orange County to go see it because that was the only ones that were open because they didn't believe in COVID anyway. And now it's like Dune, like everyone's talking about sandworms, everyone's talking about all of the factions and shit like that. Like, it's a big deal. Like, is this like, and I don't want to be blasphemous in so many ways. Like, is it having a Star Wars moment right now?
I mean, I think it's having there are two things. One, it actually is good. And like, I don't love Denis as much as the next guy, but he is about as good of a filmmaker, I think, as you're going to get to do something like this. I mean, the last one is, even for someone I love, famously horrible. The first Dune, speaking of, first attempt at Dune. Yeah. And it is, and when I said it's good, what I meant was like it's actually like a good IP. It's not like every other, like half the stuff that gets adapted just gets adapted because it is IP, but it's actually good and not being totally butchered for something that is as massive as it is, and it just isn't Star Wars and Marvel, because people still do they do still like blockbusters where there's more than one movie in the series and all that stuff. Like, and it is like, again, we talked about this even before the 4-year gap in recording, but we can really only consume like pop culture stuff and sports now, and so like people do like want to like root for something like this, but it is on the heels of not just Disney kind of getting exposed because of the continued degradation of their own movies in both Star Wars and MCU, but also that people like, because of the strikes and because of like people, like it's weird that people know David Zaslav's name who aren't like us. Like people who, like normal people know his name, and that's really weird.
Yeah.
And that's it probably for him bad. And even like like accounts like fucking Discussing Film, which is literally just like essentially Drudge Report for movie news. And I don't mean that Discussing Film is a conservative. I mean that like it's an aggregate. Like Discussing Film isn't itself reporting any news. It's aggregating stuff before anyone else is. But also whoever's running it, which I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, the language that they use to describe what's happening in the articles is like almost taunting the articles themselves.
Wait,
because
Pat, wait, where are you going?
Well, I think there is a big anti-studio sentiment right now.
Yeah,
but that actually, even though Dune is a massive studio movie, it doesn't seem like one of the bad ones. It seems like one of the good ones, like Dead Reckoning does.
They're very,
and that's why people want to like it. It needs to be good.
There are very few movies that are this weird that are out right now. Like Dune is like,
it's not just the weirdness though. I think it's like all major movies are split between like the Disney Marvel side of things and then like the good Christopher Nolan side. It's like, oh, he makes big movies, but they're good. And like Nolan literally did like a big long interview with Denis promoting this and like saying he thought it was amazing. So it's like literally the Oppenheimer stamp of like, this is one of the safe ones. This is a real movie.
Yeah.
It's in space, but it's not like you're never going to see like Hoth. You don't have to worry about Baby Yoda showing up. This is like its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think people ache for, and it's also like one of the rare times where I will say IP and not feel like it's some soul crushing thing, some like degrading, like intellectual property barf.
Everything is IP though.
But as I'm saying, but it is, and like the boy said, it is good, and it is like you said, weird, but it is also some part of a longer legacy of these kind of sci-fi movies that we just don't get anymore. And again, I think there's like an aching for, like you said, spectacle, blockbuster, popcorn movies, even if the popcorn is shaped like a pussy worm or whatever that thing is. But it's I am glad to see a movie like this have the sort of excitement that 3 to 4 years ago, maybe even less, pre-strike, would have been for Loki or some shit.
Yeah.
But like that seems to be a fading sentiment, whereas this is now like, we're entering this new chapter of like, we can have these good studio products that aren't twisters, that also gives us the same kind of rush.
All right. Hold on.
Twisters could be good.
What's wrong with
It could be good.
Twisters?
It's probably not as good as Twister, but it could be.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Twisters?
Eric doesn't like weather being vilified.
It's gonna scare me. I am. It's also just like, again, I feel like that's where like the IP / remake, since Dune is ultimately a remake, reboot, continuation of the Lynch project in the 80s.
No, it's not. They restarted it. The
reimagining, but it does come from this, tail end of another cultural product, whereas Twisters just feels like the other IP I was kind of alluding to earlier, where it feels more stripping the copper wires out of the walls culturally.
It feels a little more theme park.
Yeah, theme park, and also has. I'm ready to start this argument too. It also has the juiceless Glenn Powell in it.
We'll get to Glenn Powell. He's in my notes.
Actually, this is the last thing. This is a very good segue to the last thing I have about Dune, which is it doesn't do like you see like Avengers, and everyone in the movie is an A-lister. But then, like, they do Captain Marvel, and they're like, oh, everyone in this is gonna be an A-lister now. And you're like, okay, I mean, Brie Larson is, like, she is an A-lister, but not, like, that much. She's, like, an A-minus lister. And, like, Tiana Paris, fantastic actor. No one knows who she is. No one who's buying tickets to movies knows who she is. That I don't mean that as an insult to, I'm sure among casting directors and people in the industry, of course. But everyone in Dune is famous. I mean, Butler, Pugh, Timothy, Zendaya,
Bautista.
Yeah, I mean, don't love him anymore, but Brolin. I mean, like he's like one of the least famous people in the movie at this point, and like it is truly a star-studded movie.
Yeah,
I think they added more. The second one, they were like, "Oh, there's more characters. We got even more famous
in
people."
it. Like,
yeah. I think to Eric's point about Twisters, like, at first I was like, "Who the fuck wanted a sequel to Twister?" That shit came out when I was in like middle school.
96.
But I also think that it's what you guys said. People are longing for this type of big dumb movie that you don't have to have a huge lineage of 20 films to watch beforehand. Like, that's why I feel like the Ghostbusters sequel that comes out this month too is gonna do bad, because it's like we didn't need to see Dan Aykroyd and all of them motherfuckers again. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that's not what we're longing for. We need like new experiences. We need like new things to see. And I think that's what
Ghostbusters did not need like lore. It did not need to be a thing that's like every couple of years is a new no one fucking that we don't need that at all.
Yeah. It actually had the thing that's good about like 80s and 90s movies, which is where the best version of it was the animated cartoon, like the cartoon spin-off of the show. Like the Ghostbusters cartoon was good, the same way that like the Timon and Pumbaa and Little Mermaid shows were good, and those were better than like some legacy Little Mermaids. Like we don't come on.
And also, like, the new Ghostbusters has like the really outdated trope of putting the kids, like the new generation of kids and everything. Like, nobody want to see that shit anymore.
That trope's 15 years old. Yeah. And by the way, no one cares about Ghostbusters. I'm sorry, no one cares. Last time, all the people who cared about it, they don't actually go to movies. They just posted about the new one having women. That one was bad, not because women were in it, but because no one cares about Ghostbusters, and they didn't try to make it a good movie. They just thought people cared about Ghostbusters. And then the same thing happened again with didn't one of these already came out, right? Like
the Ghostbusters?
The other Reitman one, yeah. And it made money. Like, it did well. That's why they made this one.
Yeah.
But I just don't think anyone needed it to be like the second I saw that the plot was that like New York freezes over like day after tomorrow, I was like, why?
Yeah.
It's Ghostbusters. What the
because
it doesn't need to
escalate.
No, it's Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters does not need to escalate to the scale of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. That's not. I was like, what the fuck is this? One other thing I want to say about Dune, actually, that I think is part of why Dune is having like a moment, like a cultural moment, is that Dune has like this rich storied history. There's a bunch of lore. There's a bunch of other books. There's a bunch of other stuff. But it's not for like the general sort of like, I can't say 40-year-old because like we're all almost 40. So I guess I mean like 50 or 60-year-old white dude who like cares about Funko Pops and shit like that. Like Dune doesn't really appeal to that audience. So the people who are diehard fans of Dune are like actual kind of weirdos, and they don't. They're not arguing with people in comment sections about stuff quite the way that like Marvel people do, the way Star Wars people do. Like, this is a big, important, beloved book series and all that shit, but it's not something where there's some man baby telling you it has to be done this exact way. I think most people that like Dune accept that you can't make a movie that is one-to-one exactly like the book. So they're just like, hey, they did their best. Why even, whatever.
Yeah,
I think that helps. It makes it easier for people.
That's exactly right. I think that's that kind of feeds into what I was saying about like people longing for something that isn't so thirstily and desperately trying to sell you a toy. It's also like from an auteur who is allowed to keep his auteuristic like fingerprint on it, whereas like when someone like Ryan Coogler gets gobbled up by Marvel, the movie loses all of what makes Coogler's touch so special. Kind of
some of them can obsolete. Eke out one good one with like their like kind of like a sheet ghost over like a hollow version of like a normal good movie that they would make. But then the second, like first Black Panther, like you like on the surface, it's a good movie. But then like even though Chadwick passed, like it's still like I don't think the second one would have been significantly better had he lived.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's because of the nature of where that second movie would have been slotted into, which kind of like, you know, I think by the time that happened, they really wanted Chadwick to be their new Robert Downey. And to Pat's point earlier, they were like, oh, these people are almost A-listers. Like Chadwick was like literally like after that movie, he had become an A-list.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the one. I feel like that's the one Marvel movie that I think out of any of the other ones where someone had legitimately become that. I think Michael B. Jordan,
Stanley Pratt too.
Stanley, you feel like that?
Well, he had the combined Marvel and Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And I honestly, I bet Jurassic Park got him over more than Guardians did.
I feel like it did.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You look at Guardians, what they made money, but I think they consistently make the least amount, or they would just be like on the lesser. Or was that Thor? That might have been Thor.
And even when the first Guardians came out, it was definitely like, oh, this one is still. And I was one of these people at the time. It was like, oh, this one's for the real Marvel heads. Like you really gotta like this to like Guardians, and that was like
they're also the
kind
most
of true at the time.
They're also the most watchable, and I'm not a Marvel comic guy at all, and I would always have a softer spot for the Guardians, which
because Gunn like tries to maintain the auteur fingerprint even when they don't want him to. I mean, he got rehired by them. That was crazy.
We're gonna talk about Gunn in a second. I want to get Dom's thoughts real quick on Dune 2 before we move on. We're excited about it. I didn't listen to your review yet because I wanted to had this idea already, but just like simple, real quick to the point. What'd you feel about it?
Oh yeah, I think it's really fun. I think the biggest thing about it is that Dune Part 1 is like, I think most people agree it's a good movie, but it's a nearly 3-hour movie that comprises less than half of the book. So like, even though the movie is well made and there's good performances and all that stuff, when the movie's over, you're like,
you felt
okay, that's all right. You know what I mean? It's very not just unsatisfying, but it's so much setup, and all the setup is very heavy and kind of moody and shit.
A little bit of Surf Dracula.
A little bit, yeah, right? Where you're like, is he going to fucking do this thing? I mean, you can say what you want about the David Lynch Dune, like objectively not being a good movie, but like they did cram everything in there. Like most of it happens in the story. And you could argue
you don't know what's happening because it just doesn't stop happening.
Yeah,
and
it just goes and goes.
Nothing. But
this has the feeling of, because it's just the rest of the book, things are happening and like things are blowing up and things are thrilling. And like, I'd never thought that Denis was on the level of like a Nolan or someone like that in terms of like being able to create really memorable like set pieces outside of like Sicario. I think is the only movie of his that's really genuinely thrilling. This feels more like Sicario in the sense that like you can tell that he put real effort into like making it a thrill ride, actually making it enjoyable, actually making it exciting. And I mean, maybe in some ways that dedication to making it exciting is at the detriment of the book's themes and stuff like that. But like, I just didn't give a shit, if that makes sense. Like I was a friend of mine tried to ask me more deep questions because he was familiar with the book. And I was like, yeah, dude, I mean, he just like starts, it ends with a knife fight. I don't know. Like to me, later, as I started to try to intellectualize the movie and try to get its deeper stuff, I kept having this thing in my head go, but do you even fucking care? Like, do you even care about any of these ideas or themes? That was rad. That was just awesome. Like, I understand that it's like, no, it's supposed to show you the inherent danger of charismatic leaders and the things they can do and how many people can die if they're pointed the wrong direction. I'm like, yeah, but then like a bunch of sandworms ate a bunch of people I didn't like. So like, I don't fucking care about that other stuff. I just don't. People are gonna, once the movie's out, people are gonna get all their think pieces off and all their deeper shit. And like, I don't think it matters. Like, I don't think any other movie this year is gonna be this exciting. I'll say that. There's nothing else on the slate that is gonna be this like fun. I guess people are gonna fucking see Deadpool and shit and whatever. Good for them. But like, I mean, we have to see it too. But I think that Dune coming out in like March right now with this kind of energy is crazy.
Yeah,
because we have an entire summer coming up and there's nothing of this caliber.
Right.
There's nothing in the fall. There's nothing in the winter.
We did get one movie already this year of that caliber, and that was a little movie called The Beekeeper.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
I'm still gonna see that.
Popped it off.
It's so good.
It strangely feels like this year is more scarce than last year. Last year felt like okay, we're back. Like 2022 was just like we're back.
There was literally a backlog of movies that had to come out.
Yeah, like 2023 was like, yo, we're getting something every single fucking week. And now 2024 is like we had a fucking strike. It's just like it was like COVID part 2 for motherfuckers.
Well, last year when the strike was going on, I kept thinking like once we started seeing the Barbenheimer numbers, I was like, they've got to wrap this up. They have to know that this means we're back, and that if the strike goes on too long, next year is fucked. And like I'm a little naive at times, so I really thought like they're gonna have to see these numbers and just give in. Like this can't go on for much longer.
Yeah,
I thought they were gonna push Dune back after Barbenheimer came out. I was like, oh, Dune is gonna they're gonna give it the slot back to
November.
Like gonna move it from March back to November or whatever it is.
I kind of thought that was gonna happen too, actually, because there was nothing. Like I run a movie theater. That part of the year was just like, if we could just make Dune every day, something would happen. And we're like, look, we just got to make it to March. We can pull this off,
I think because we pay so much attention to movies, we are in the industry. We are, and maybe this maybe is just speaking for me, but a little bit out of touch when it comes to like how important it is for like actors to be able to do press tours. And like obviously it's hugely important because it's a major portion of the industry, but I like many other major portions of the industry, it's kind of self-perpetuating. But then you see these red carpets where there's 30 people in a row who everyone is more famous than the last one. It's like, oh, maybe it is good that they push this.
No, they needed to, because I mean we've had months now of Timmy, like the big four, basically the hot young four people that just going places and being charming and all that stuff. And like, I think it's really clutch too, because not a whole lot of young people grew up in households where Dune was a book that someone made them read or something. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I think you needed that element of it to get to the TikTok generation and stuff. And it seems to be working.
It's like David Foster Wallace said, it's immensely complicated science fiction. I mean, he did say that on Charlie Rose, but I tried. I do not have like a sci-fi literature brain. I barely have a sci-fi cinematic language brain, let alone like I'm like trying to force myself to read sci-fi, and it is super dense. But I think that's what the appeal of Dune is. It kind of like appeals to the dumb smart guy and the smart dumb guy in equal measure. Yeah. And I think that's also like something that has immense appeal. Which it goes back to what Dom was saying about like how this doesn't appeal to the Funko Pop annoying sector of Twitter, which like it has every opportunity to do that. Like you would think the kind of nerdy, self-important, like I've read the book crowd would be extra vocal, but they're not. They're just like letting it rock. They actually are letting people enjoy things, to quote that obnoxious meme. And it's refreshing. I'm ready to tap in, baby.
Well, I hate to tell you this, Eric, but they've already started it. They've started it with the press tour of Dune, saying, "Wow, it seems as though these people aren't friends." I sent Dom a TikTok about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I did watch that. Yeah. It broke. I don't know who those people are. I am loosening my my convictions against the death penalty.
Yeah.
What is happening there?
Yeah, again, it's like it's trying to drudge up commentary where there really is none. Like I don't think that it's a problem that Timothy and Austin Butler aren't really friends, even though they were set together in the press row. Like it's your main antagonist and your main protagonist.
They have to be buddies. Like, what the fuck?
They work together.
Yeah.
It is like, yes, it is cool and fun to make millions of dollars and being a movie star. That is obviously fucking great. It is not fun to be on set for more than 4 hours. And these guys have to do that every day.
But not only this, Pat, they shot this movie so long ago. This is probably the first time they're all seeing each other in years.
Yeah, they've made movies since. They've done things since. Yeah. There was one of those sites had like a whatever. I don't know if it's like I don't know the names of all the different gossip things, but I see them aggregated elsewhere. But someone had like a blind item about how like there was some kind of rumor of drama because Timothée Chalamet and Florence Pugh were like hanging out all the time, and they kept inviting Zendaya, and she didn't want to go, and it was like a strife because they didn't want to hang out together. And it's like, you have jobs, right? Some of you people have jobs. Sometimes you have a coworker who wants to go get a beer, and you fucking don't because work is over for the day. I don't know that it's exactly the same, but it's probably pretty fucking similar. That she's like, no, I've been in the desert with you all day. I want to go see my boyfriend Spider-Man now.
And like, how about like you're familiar with the concept? If to go with this metaphor, like, okay, you know what's fun? Having one person at work who you're good friends with, and that you can go out and do non-work things with. You know what isn't fun? The work Christmas party. No one wants to go. You don't want to be with all your coworkers all the time. It's not how it is.
Also, age gaps are a thing. Like I feel like other than like the core four of those young people, like everyone else on that cast is like a little older than they are. Like they're not expected to be friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the people that work at like a retail outlet, and it's like a 22-year-old's best friend's like a 45-year-old man. You know what I mean? Like Zendaya just being cool with Javier Bardem. Like, he's really fun. He gives me books. Like,
it's like when Dasha was talking about like hanging out with Brian Cox, and he's like, I don't know who the fuck that is.
That's It's some kind of gay thing.
But again, like and even to what Eric was saying about Funko Pops, like they're certainly trying to make this like a capital T thing, where it's just like I don't know if Dune like will transcend into Funko Pops, and like that's a pretty dire thing to have a Paul Atreides Funko Pop. Like it's like, do you know what he's gonna become soon? Like that's not really something that you have in your crib. You know what I mean? Like,
and there is like there is a bigger, it's small, but there is a slightly like it is. You know what I know how to say? Iron Man. You know what I might not know how to say? Baron Harkonnen. Like you like
Shai Hulud.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are like I can't read this fake Middle Eastern shit. Like you know, like it does have
Ridley Scott has entered the chat.
That's another one. We next pod we're doing Prince of Persia, and we're doing the Ridley Scott Matt Damon
Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Yeah,
We'll see motherfuckers in 2030 for that one. That's when that'll come out. I want to get to this other kind of like big kind of zeitgeist moves that have been going on. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but Fantastic Four. I know, Eric, you're rolling your eyes. There wasn't enough like artistic bullshit for me to talk about.
Drewski hands.
I know. Fantastic Four. I'm sorry. I know. We gotta get people to to listen. We can't talk about Zone of Interest for very long. Zone
God damn.
It just doesn't get the listens, man. We gotta talk about shit.
That's the funniest shit ever. Hey, when you're right, you're right.
Zone of Interest just isn't gonna get us there. But Fantastic Four got the cast. It was the rare case of everyone on Twitter casting this whole fucking thing, because it's pretty much everybody at Twitter cast. My question is like, is this gonna be good? I think our listeners want to know the thoughts on, is this shit gonna be good or not?
No, it's not. Who's directing this fucking thing?
Matt Shankman, the guy that directed WandaVision. No movies to his.
Okay, so no, it's not going to be good because they literally he just directed a ton of TV, He's
directing this, but like for people listening, I'm quoting. He's directing this as much as you could possibly direct one of these types of films.
He's there. He's gonna be there every day at least. You know, he'll be on the set more than Bryan Singer would be.
He's an in-house guy who directed like maybe their last well-received show.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think it has the potential to be more watchable than the last few things. I think that damning it with faint praise, but I think it's a period piece. Like there's stuff they could do with it to make it like charming. It's also one of these situations to me where it's like, look, Marvel has gotten so bad that if this is watchable, that will be considered good. Like all you have to do is look at the reactions to the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer to know that these people are starved to be able to say this is good. It doesn't have to be that good for them to be able to. People were like, no, they're bad. This is what I've been. I was talking to a guy and he was, did you see the trailer? And I was like, oh yeah. I didn't want to have a conversation about it. I didn't want to have to get into the weeds of them. And he was like, yeah, they're really back. And I was like,
first comment,
make $7 billion.
First comment I saw was, not gonna lie, they cooked. I said, cooked what?
They are cooked.
They showed nothing in that trailer. Which
the only thing that cooked was
want it.
Yeah, the only thing that cooked was Homie from The Bear. I'm out.
Okay, we'll get to him in a second, actually. But
I again, it's like Dom's right. They want something to be good. I think that this has the potential to be solid. I think the cast is currently constructed. They have to make, in the same vein as WandaVision, kind of like the 60s nuclear family. If the movie takes place in the 60s, it's not confirmed yet or whatever, but like it has to kind of have that sitcom like feel in my opinion, because Fantastic Four has never really been serious. So like you got a really good comedic actors in it. Pedro Pascal is down to embarrass himself.
I give a feeling they marched Pedro to set with a rifle to the back of his head to get him in this one.
He's literally filming like two things right now. He's filming Last of Us, and then he's filming Fantastic Four. It's the craziest like schedule ever. His next
and is he doing Mandalorian?
One of those might be easier to do than the other one.
I don't. Okay, so Last of Us will probably like. I don't want to spoil stuff, but yeah, one of them is probably going to be a little bit easier. You're right, but he is filming both of them back to back right now.
I do hope he's booked for a Mandalorian season that he's just not going to be there for. He's going to be like, look, I'm not getting in the fucking suit again. I'm sorry. I can do this 80 yard a day.
They're saying they're replacing. The rumor is that he's being replaced in the Mandalorian thing, the movie, because he's doing so many things. But my question to you guys is that like, is the fatigue real? We haven't talked about this just on this show. We talked about it kind of like outward, in our text chats and everything. It's the first time people are kind of hearing us. Is hero fatigue like real? Like I saw there was positive sentiment to the Fantastic Four announcement. There's positive sentiment to the Deadpool and Wolverine thing, whether that you like that trailer or not. There's generally pretty positive sentiment on what James Gunn is doing with Superman. Are people just willing to just let these things happen and not make them like this big, like because the past couple of years, they've been like, these are real movies. They deserve real awards. They're real actors.
But then they literally made an award to give themselves awards for superhero movies, and it went to somebody else.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really even do that. I mean, Batman is never going to go away. I don't mean that for me, that's a positive, but I don't mean that in a positive or a negative, because there's certainly going to be good and bad Batman movies in the future, just because he is, I think if one hero transcends the genre, if for no other reason than people just like Batman, it's Batman.
I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then I was going to say, and if there's two, then it's Spider-Man. I think Superman is, I don't know how to say this. He is more interesting to me philosophically than as a hero on screen.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think Smallville is the best iteration of Superman, because otherwise, like, he's just like some Zen god, basically, or like he's like, a cringe version of that. Like, I just don't know how to do it. I don't know.
I think July
that makes the character less
2025
popular.
is going to be a real, like, that's going to be the telltale of where superheroes are going, right? Because right now there's definitely been fatigue. These things were coming out every other week, it felt like, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only one Marvel movie coming out this year. That's it. It's just Deadpool 3, and calling that a movie, generous. So next year we're going to get Captain America 4 on like Valentine's Day, I think. And then
New World Order.
No one's going to see that.
They changed it to Brave New World, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because of how obviously bad that was going to be. And then I guess there's like Thunderbolts is in the spring or something. But July, within weeks of each other, you're going to get Superman Legacy and Fantastic Four. And those are two comic book properties. Superman's like the beginning of the DC universe, like the new movie, the gun stuff. And then Fantastic Four is like the spiritual beginning of the Marvel universe. They're the first Marvel superheroes, basically. And the thing they both properties have in common is that people that love them very dearly, and most people just don't get it and think they're only good in theory. People don't really care about a story about a close-knit family that travels the stars. They don't really care about Superman. They think he's only cool when he's evil. They think Fantastic Four is not cool at all. So those two movies are probably going to have very similar vibes. I would not be surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they're both going to have, spiritually, they're going to feel like the potential dawn of a new era for superhero movies. And if they both don't work, or one of them does not work and the other one does, or what have you, that I think is going to determine whether this. I don't think these are ever going to go away. Obviously, I think they're always going to be kind of a part of Hollywood now. Mm-hmm. But I think that we might not get them to be such a constant the way they have been. Because like from Endgame onward, Endgame was at this real big peak, and then everyone started chasing that high again. And it's like, look, it's not coming. If you really liked Endgame, they can't hit that peak again anytime soon. Look how long it took to build to. So they can't just do it again next year. So I don't know how people are going to react to now that they've seen that, now that they've gotten like a mature cinematic universe that's lived and breathed and done all these things. I don't know how they're going to react to DC starting one from scratch and having to go back. Like, how long is it going to be till James Gunn can do a Justice League movie? You know what I mean? Like, are people going to want to wait for that now that they've already been through that elsewhere? Mm. So I don't know. I think people are definitely tired. I think that's a real thing. People look. Going back to, I don't think Twisters gets greenlit in a world where Marvel's not in danger. I think that to me is sort of like, we haven't had a natural disaster movie in a fucking while. I think the only one we had was like Moonfall or whatever, and like I don't know if that counts. So like the fact that it got greenlit.
I missed the Moonfall billboards that said like "fuck the moon" in like spray paint.
You know, we're that's, I think the nature is healing part of this is like people are going to be willing to spend like $200 million in a movie about tornadoes. They're going to spend it about, you know, Ridley Scott doing Napoleon. Like we're going to start to see people being willing to risk stuff again a little bit, maybe not a lot.
Even if
comparatively,
even if these things aren't going to go away, their influence over the industry is certainly going to go away, and that's hopefully, you know, fucking really what matters.
But it's also like you have to Dom's point, I didn't think of it this way. It's like you have beloved studio versus beloved director and creative, and like that who's gonna side with who? It's like people don't look at James Gunn like he makes big budget studio fare. They look at him like he makes things with heart and with care. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one thing that he's always gonna have going for him. He's like a golden child. Like people love James Gunn.
And I mean, Justin, you and I walked out of Guardians 3 with our jaws on the floor, not because of the quality of the movie itself, which it was a good movie, but that we like that the jaws on the floor were our reactions to our own reactions, if that makes sense. Like
he made us care about something that we inherently did not care about, and we really went to go see it just to use up our AMC A-list for the week. Like that's essentially why we went to go see the fucking movie. But again, it's going to be interesting to see that juxtaposition, because it's like there's going to be more after that. Like they have a lot of stuff planned after this. You got Mahershala Ali lying, saying he loves things, because I think that he's waiting to come out from under the bunker. Like, are they good again? Okay, let's make this movie. Like, it's very clear that's what he's doing, right? That he's just waiting to see if these things are going to be good again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the wiki for this, and that's nothing's coming out until Deadpool's coming out in July, and then February and May of 2025 have Captain America and Thunderbolts. Captain America, they have failed to make Anthony Mackie a star up to this point. Yeah. It's not happening now. Thunderbolts has a lot of people who are what's my man in Doctor Strange, his assistant, who's like actual he's the Wong. The real Wong's Wong, great. Yeah. Wong is great. He is a character actor and he's fantastic. Everyone loves Wong. We don't want the movie where Wong is on a team of a bunch of Wong level people. And I'm not saying that's what Thunderbolts is, but functionally kind of that's what Thunderbolts is. Like we're not getting any stars from Thunderbolts. The people who are
it's their Suicide Squad, Pat.
It doesn't.
They literally turned it into Suicide Squad.
It's not happening with Thunderbolts. And is it happening? So then after that, we got Fantastic Four, and I'll tell you what. I don't think Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and my man from The Bear. Not an insult to any of them. They're not getting
bigger, right?
The amount of people Pedro is bringing to that movie, if it's any at all, is they are a candle in the sun to him, and that's not
a question. Is Pedro like a box office draw? That's
no
question. We have no idea.
Yeah,
he's not. I don't think he's ever had a film lead role. Really, I don't think so.
He's in Wonder Woman 84.
He was the heavy in Equalizer 2?
Yeah.
That's literally the last time I've seen him on like
the
Nicolas Cage shit.
He was a bad guy in Wonder Woman 84.
And he was the only good part of the movie.
Yeah. But that does not translate to like leading man.
He's not in.
Exactly. And then after that, we have the fake release date for Blade, which obviously isn't. I mean, you're telling me Blade, which is still being rewritten by 12 different people, is coming out 3 months after Fantastic Four? I don't think so. And then after that, what's next? The actual next Avengers movies. So no, they're fucked. They are not going to have a single star between. They have nothing.
How are they? Oh, they're going to bring back everybody. That's how they're going to get people to go see the Avengers movie. Right?
I feel like they're going to have. I don't know how much they're going to have to pay Academy Award winner Robert Downey Jr. to put that fucking mocap suit back on or whatever.
They're all subtly shitting on them too. They don't. Everyone can see that. Like, hey, guess what? This shit's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is going to come out at D23 and do the fucking Rock Goosebumps gimmick. Is this going to be like?
I mean, anybody going back at this point is Jon Stewart going back to host Mondays on the Daily Show.
Yeah, that's what we are. And it speaks to like a really like kind of dire issue. Like I can't see like the DC people coming back. I think that they pretty much are all like, we're not coming back to do this shit ever again. But like. We're at a point where it's like you just want to go back and do the same shit again. Like, so that's really that's your whole bag, man.
Go watch the old movies.
Yeah, that's what I can't get with. But I'm interested in Fantastic Four. I enjoy Pedro Pascal. I think that's the one person they've casted that I'm just like I'm not sick of. Like I'm sick of Tom Holland. I don't care to see Spider-Man as him anymore. I'll see.
I don't know if he cares to see Spider-Man as him.
Bro, they got him in a 630 deal, a 720 deal, bro. He's never getting that.
That's why I think we're seeing the superhero fatigue from the superheroes themselves. They know they are rearranging decks on the Titanic, or rearranging chairs on the Titanic. I think they won out, and I think they see how liberated someone like RDJ has been on this Oscar run. Like he is so happy to be back amongst artists and like making like fulfilling art again, where it's like, yeah, man, it made you $1 billion. It was fun. You had
bro. The first movie he made after he got out of the MCU was The Judge or whatever that fucking movie was. And he did it just because it must have felt pretty good.
Yeah,
I think The Judge was during. The first thing he did post Endgame was actually Doolittle.
Which was
catastrophically bad.
He had filmed it like way like a long time ago, though, right? I feel like he had filmed it.
I think so. Yeah. It was, but I mean,
they had my man in a headlock for 10 years.
The only person who is, I think, going to be who's going about this like the right way. It's the way that they used to do these things, right? Which is Robert Pattinson spent years distancing himself from being Edward, right? And only working with like art house filmmakers he admired and people he wanted to lend his star to and stuff. And then eventually someone convinced him, like, you know, if you do a Batman, it'll make it easier to help get Claire Denis money. And he's like, all right, fuck it. This sounds fun. I like Batman. Yeah. And he did something that's really good, but it's like respectable. No one looks at that as him selling out, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing Matt Damon used to do with the Bourne movies. I don't think Matt Damon gave that much of a shit about any of that stuff, but I think it was like every few me movies, I have to go do a Bourne to remind people who I am and that I'm important, and then I can then use that to go do what I really want.
Yeah.
But for the
he was good at being Bourne. It didn't feel like bullshit because he was good. I mean, I don't love the
he wasn't faking it really.
Yeah.
But I feel like the last 10...
Pattinson also did a Batman that didn't feel like the other ones that they were making or the other movies.
Yeah, it was like good. Yeah. And I mean, the same way the Bourne movies are pretty good.
It also didn't make a lot of money. It didn't make like mad money either. So it was not. It's like, oh, he made the one for us. He made the Batman for us.
Like the good,
yeah, like he's made the good Batman for us.
But
it's like we're saying. Like Reeves also has that stamp of like those Apes movies. At least the two.
He's on the Nolan
the
side.
second
He's on
one.
The Nolan side of things.
Yeah, exactly. Like 1,000%.
But for the longest time, these people who've been doing these movies have not been doing them to then go do what they want. It's never been one for them and one for me. They never get to me. It's just, no, we need you to show up at the very end of this 6-episode show no one's watched. It's very important. You have to. No one did one of these movies and then use that to make something special. None of them.
Yeah.
None of them.
And what that ends up is a full generation, or not of actors, because everyone's a different age or whatever, but a 10-year plus period where where like entire aspects of people's careers just don't exist.
Right.
Like,
and I think we see that most egregiously with someone like Chris Evans, who's still like young and has some sort of like cultural cachet, but when he tries to do one for him, it turns out to be The Gray Man or whatever that fake Apple movie was with what's our girl's name?
Ghosted. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, those were both two of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Yeah.
Ever. So even when they try to escape, they're still in this like self-designed prison, that like, well, it's kind of like a specter over there. And it's not, I don't think we should discount the fact that even these passion projects like Tom Holland trying to do Cherry is like, it's still the Russo brothers. They're like still making this dog shit when they're trying.
I'm one of the only people who watched The Devil all the time, and that was bad too.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah.
But like Pattinson did something interesting.
Yeah.
He took a big swing in that.
I want to take aim at the people who have perpetuated a lot of this style of movie. And I look to this, I call it, it's really wrong to say this about this, but I call it citizen journalism because that's literally what it is. You got your straw hat goofies. You got your influencers. I'm calling it out.
Is that our straw hat goofies? Are those One Piece fans?
No, that's Cam Newton. Straw hat goofies, Cam Newton.
Straw hat goofy for I don't even know if Pat, you don't know of this guy. Eric, you don't know of this guy, right? You don't know straw hat.
Probably not, right?
That's actually his name.
Yeah,
it's his handle. Yeah,
he's a TikTok social media guy who his whole shtick was I like movies. He likes every movie that has ever come out.
You said that was his shtick. He likes movies.
Yeah, he loves movies. But what happened was
he likes them.
As movies needed to have more success, they needed to have reviews that reflected that as well on social media as well as Rotten Tomatoes. So like what you would see often, especially as Marvel movies that we were just talking about, were getting these rave reviews, you'd see online people were starting to go the other way. I think this started during the pandemic, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, everyone was just like, this shit's ain't good, but they're getting 80s and 90% and something like that. So what a lot of studios started to do was they would go on TikTok and social and they started getting these influencers, giving them press junket passes, letting them come to the premieres, giving them review screening access, and
they were almost putting them in the fucking movies.
Exactly. And now you have people who, during the strikes, Straw Hat Goofy made it a huge controversy by essentially still doing content for studios for movies that were dropping last fall. And then he made a joke. It wasn't a joke. Let's just be clear. It wasn't a fucking joke. He said it was satire. It was fucking real about how he was scabbing proudly. And a lot of people came at him for that.
No, you are. This isn't. When this
I mean,
happened,
it is nice that like he won't ever actually be able to get into SAG now. Like, I hope your fucking 2 months was cool.
Honestly, Pat, I don't think he cares. That's
the thing. Is these guys? It's a whole. Everyone else that I know who does content creation of any sort in the movie space, there's a really strong divide between people who like kind of take it seriously, care about the art form, care about certain things, and then this other side of these people who, like, so many of them are like not knowledgeable about film at all. Many of them are they never say anything negative about anything. They're always very positive, and everything they do is just has this sheen of they're just shills.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that so much, except that like they're inescapable. Like the number of times I have literally reported Straw Hat Goofy for hate speech just to get him to not show up in my For You page. Like I've reported him for impersonation, bullying, like anything, because I'm like, I just don't want to see this motherfucker's face.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, he'll pop up like, I was just at this premiere, and I'm like, just die, please die. Like
oh my god.
There's him and there's another woman, Jay Stubes. The two of them, I hated them both equally. And then one day, I saw the two of them together at a premiere of a Marvel movie on the red carpet, and I was just like, what is happening?
I don't want to fuck this. I don't want to fuck this conversation up. Just found this out. Richard Lewis passed away.
Oh Jesus.
We were me, Eric, and Pat were literally just talking about him 2 weeks ago when we watched the J-Lo thing. Had to make a joke out of this.
Oh fuck, was he?
No, he's not.
I don't even remember how he.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my god, I hope that's not his last thing.
Eric's interviewed him. I don't know. I don't know if you have any words, Eric.
Yeah, somebody had just texted me. That's why I wanted to make sure I was on mute in case I made a sound. Yeah, it's just. He was a legend, man. He was one of the best to ever do it. Yeah, really sad. I know he had been sick for a while. I think he had Parkinson's and hadn't really told a lot of people, but I knew people were like expecting this, but it doesn't make it any easier. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to interview him 2018 for Vulture, and it was like the most like, you want to get roasted by like, you want Larry David to be mean to you. You want, these kind of things. And I got the quintessential Richard Lewis where I asked one question and he talked for 40 minutes. And that's kind of what his stand-up was. He was very operatic. He would just talk, and then it was almost like he was in therapy. He was you've seen him on Curb. He's very emotional, and he's a raw nerve. But the funny thing I was talking to the boys about was this moment I had where at the end of our phone call, we were wrapping it up. And I was like, all right, I guess I got all I needed. And, he did his very self-loathing kind of thing. And he had mentioned Larry as he was saying bye. He was like, I think I'm about to have lunch with Larry or something. And so as I was saying bye, I did the thing where like I heard someone else's name. So I called him that name by mistake. I said, thanks again, Larry. Like, but by mistake instead of Richard. And he goes, this guy doesn't even know who I am, and then hung up the phone. And I was like, I couldn't have been happier. I was embarrassed, but I was like, that's how I wanted that grace note, nice little button on that conversation.
So, sorry to interrupt. I know I don't want to. This is good discourse that we're having right now. But
but that's important. That's a beautiful story.
Richard Lewis has one of my favorite quotes about friendship, which is we got enough to get over this. We got enough in the bank to get over this, but this is real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a one of one, that guy.
R.I.P. to Richard Lewis. But back to people that we hate.
Right, yeah. Nice segue, yeah.
So I mean, to Dom's point, with people like Straw Hat Goofy, we have the people that like, and I feel as though honestly these are the people that have perpetuated this kind of style of journalism that has kept these studios thinking that these types of movies are okay to continue to pursue.
Even though they invented these people. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And again, it's like this mindless, you must conform, you must love everything. Like that is what got us in this space to begin with. That is what started this discourse, and these people have only sought to continue it. And that's like the sickening part of the whole thing, is that like, yo, like this is literally like kind of where journalism has gone to die. I think in a lot of ways you look at, how dire it is for movie journalism, how dire it has been for fucking literally every type of journalism that is out there right now. And, you only have, stuff like this to blame. And it's only risen in the 4 years since we fucking stopped making this, because there was no Straw Hat Goofy when we stopped doing this. We were like largely still kind of holding on to the same critics that whether we loved them or hated them, their word meant something. And now those same people, that it means a little bit less now. And that's really sad.
Well, it is it's so weird. It's like, I mean, it's not like this at all, but it's like watching like even like the Republican primary in 2012 was like full of some of the biggest freaks and weirdos like of all time, like Herman Cain, Michelle Bachmann, just absolute like people who've been lost to the sands of times, but complete freaks and demons. And they're so much more normal than the current people. And then it's like, I have never watched more than, I don't know, 3 seconds of an Anthony Fantano video, but I know that like I don't care what he's saying, but I do think that he knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think his shtick is, I think he's a very good salesman of his shtick, but I think he knows what he's saying. I just now think like it's like, it's like when you see someone do like a home cleaning hack and they're like, just turn your air fryer on with a Tide Pod in it. And you're like,
Yeah, it's the collapse of authority across all mediums. It's like somehow that we've both seen like a simultaneous like ripping down of all firewalls,
which is good in some like it's
but
good to a point.
But like another rise of gatekeeping at the same time, which is how you get when you log on to Instagram or whatever, you see 8 different guys in black t-shirts in a podcast setting talking about like, you only really need 3 hours of sleep to be strong alpha. Like 5 of those guys who like are selling you the chewy jaw thing. It's that
mewing gum. Yeah.
Why is that popping up on your timeline?
Because I'm the alpha. This is alpha shit. But that's like that version of what's happening to journalism, where we're watching this, the hyper consolidation of media, and that's why we're getting Vice's closing down and Sports Illustrated and BuzzFeed and Complex. All these things are collapsing, which usually something rises out of the ashes. And at first it's going to be these kind of charlatans who kind of take the mantle, where there's no, the only pedigree or track record you need is if you have a viral following. Doesn't matter if you're an authority on the subject.
Yeah. And that makes it harder. Yeah. It makes it so much harder for the people who, again, actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
And back to Fantano, it's like, yeah, he might be obnoxious and a dork, but like the guy likes music. A lot of these people don't like the thing. They have like contempt for the thing they're covering because it's like it's a brand exercise and not an actual form of criticism or commentary on the art that they supposed to enjoy and cover.
Boy, if you could see the outfit that Straw Hat Goofy was wearing.
I mean, his name is Straw Hat Goofy. Can you throw up a photo?
Bro, he was wearing like a chocolate chip button-up shirt to some, but the tweet or the post, and Dom, if you remember, you might be able to like kind of like help me here. He had a motherfucking, it was like when you meet Lily Gladstone, when your car declines at therapy and Lily Gladstone.
Yeah. So there was a TikTok trend for the last couple of weeks.
I hate it, by the way, which a trend that I hate. I don't understand.
It's definitely a trend that like almost none of the. Here's the thing: every TikTok trend is going to reach a saturation point where it's just not funny. Like unfunny people get a hold of it, but generally they start out funny and then they get worse. This one, I don't think I saw any that were genuinely funny, but the trend was like when your card declines at like at therapy, and then like it started out being like a thing for niche sad people. So it was like, like sad women who are on like 9 different SRIs or whatever, or SSRIs, being like, when your card declines at therapy, and they bring out like your boyfriend from college or your mom who's abusive or whatever. Like it was like a very dark kind of self-critical humor of people just sort of nakedly joking about their own issues, which is like a very popular thing on the internet. I understand that. But then it grew from that, and then people were just trying to make the way Twitter jokes are, where they stop being funnier or inventive, they just have to be more outlandish to get attention. And people started doing like, I don't know, like when your car declines to the therapist, and they bring out a wolf to rape you or something, and you're just like, okay, I don't know. All right, cool. Thanks for that, I guess. And then Straw Hat Goofy did one, and I think he was like on a red carpet in the picture on it. And it was like when your car declines at therapy, and they bring out Lily Gladstone to remind you what they did to her and her family in Codes of the Flower Moon. And it was just like, so not like her character, not like, he made it really seem, the phrasing made it seem like Lily Gladstone was cast in that movie because it happened to her. This happened to my friend Lily. She got, her entire bloodline was wiped out by white people. Like, it was just one of those things where people were like, what? But again, Straw Hat Goofy is a person who does not appear to possess like particularly robust media literacy to begin with. So I'm not surprised that he thought that was funny. I don't know.
If you look at his face, I mean,
I don't want to shame people's appearances, but yes, he looks like he is the only way I can describe him.
I'll do it for
you. Something about him is just like, remember when people were dogpiling the nice library guy, saying that lady said he had dark energy, and then like he had like a meltdown or something?
Yeah.
Straw Hat Goofy has dark energy. Straw Hat Goofy is like, there's a hellmouth in his backyard that he has to feed cakes to or something. Like, something about that guy is not right to me. And there's a whole class of those people, and those are the people that get invited now. Actors have historically hated junkets, right? They hate media day. They hate going to sit in a chair while losers ask them dumb questions. And it's always been bad, right? Now they're being asked these questions by fucking TikTokers and C-level reality stars. That's who they're inviting to these things, because they're just trying to reverse engineer like viral moments or whatever. But it's not generating things that are funny. Like, sometimes you see an interview that's so bad that it's funny. Like, they always have that clip of the Israeli journalist who keeps trying to insist that Cillian Murphy's English, and he's like, no, I'm Irish. And he keeps being like, yeah, well, you're from the United Kingdom. He's like, I'm from Ireland. He just keeps going. And that's a bit. People continue to share that bit. It's funny. These things aren't bits. They're all just like, it's even, you can't even call it cringe. It's more like, no, get out. You shouldn't be here. Like, you should get the fuck out of the room. Get someone else in here. Get ChatGPT to ask the fucking questions if you're going to do this.
Right. Well, that's the next inevitable step. I know I've talked to Dom about this a couple times. It's like I want to tread a little lightly, because I don't have that much hate for this particular example, but like, I kind of see the crack starting to show with the way Letterboxd has kind of become a brand in itself, in like a front-facing, client-facing way, where like, what makes Letterboxd so special is like the 40-person follower account saying the funniest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life, and that organically going viral. But now they're, like you said, trying to reverse engineer with like this red carpet presence, where they're asking, celebs with, what their 4 favorites are, which is like a fine structure, but it strikes me very much as like a Fallon-esque-ification of Letterboxd. It's like, those things are always going to go viral because a celebrity is involved. It's not this organic, funny take or observation. You're just letting the celebrities kind of do the heavy lifting.
Fallon is the perfect person to use it in that sentence, because he is the TikToker of late night hosts. Like, he not that he is, but like I am not now, nor have I ever been a fan of late night. But I do recognize that the hosts are good at it. In like, there's a late night thing. You do this. You do this. Fallon sucks at it. he's so bad, and he is on the fence of like cringe and get the fuck out, and also apparently incredibly abusive to his staff and a raging alcoholic who degloved one of his fingers by tripping and catching a ring on a table.
Okay.
But he is literally like the talentless goof who like popularized himself into this position and makes everybody who is actually good at it and knows what they're doing look stupider because of it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Degrading the platform, like the actual, like when you started adding all the like game show shit to the Tonight Show, every late night show had to start doing stuff to be viral on YouTube or whatever, and like it just became just bad. And I mean, now it's happening to like, I don't want to say it's happening to film criticism. Film criticism is pretty fucked already, but it's happening to just like the general media around the world of movies.
Yeah.
And it's people who I don't really care if someone has different tastes than me or likes things that I don't like or doesn't like things I like. But on a fundamental level, if I have to see someone blowing up and I know for certain they just don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they like proudly say things that are incorrect, like functionally not reality, like, and you see the people who are in their comment sections arguing with them, and they're all arguing from like fallacies. They're like, oh yeah, it's like, no, this person was wrong. You're arguing about this thing that isn't real. And like and you can't come in and be like, actually it's this, because now you look like an asshole. You like you're mansplaining some movie or whatever. And it's poison. It's really poisonous. I don't know how it's going to get better other than just more and more people like also hating them because they're so uncomfortable and not entertaining. But I don't know. I think some people are going to come up with these people as the people they look up to, and it's just going to perpetuate.
Right. It's like the monkey paw curling. Like we wanted a tearing down of like the old boys club status quo, kind of like conservative, power obsessed journalism. But now we have those guys are kind of going off the street. And now we have this new brand, and I'm just like, oh boy.
And now it's basically check on my dog.
Like 1 second. Sorry, y'all.
It's all right.
And like all the like, you know, clearly like Gen Z TikTokers do not all look or have the same values of the you know, old stuffy old white critics of the past, but they're essentially engaging in the exact same behavior of gatekeeping and bullying, like for you know, no real different end. It's so, you know, it's just like, oh, if you give someone this function, they will do this thing.
Yeah. Super dire, but that's all my notes for today. That's everything I got. I know Eric's out tending to Dean the dog, but I want to thank you guys for listening, and I want to thank you guys for being on this show. But before we get out of here, I have one last thing to ask of everyone. So a couple of months ago, me, Pat, and Eric had the joy to watch a movie called Dogface, a trap house horror. And just to kind of end this whole thing off today, I want to know you guys your favorite line from that movie.
It's easy for me. And I'm probably butchering it. It's only 2 words. John Blue?
Okay. Okay, John?
I think my favorite part in the whole movie, in terms of like dialogue, is when the guy is harmonizing, who's like begging outside of the car. It's just every time I get to that scene, I'm just like, look, I encounter a lot of unhoused people begging for money in my neighborhood, and not a one of them has ever sung to me. And I feel like if someone rolled up on me with that kind of voice to men level harmony, I would have, and then him knowing the exact amount of money in the man's pocket, I would have had to give it to him. You just have to have this. This seems like it's some kind of Lovecraft shit above me. This is yours now.
Oh, Pat, favorite line, if any, favorite scene, anything.
I genuinely think the John Blue scene is good. There are parts of the movie where I'm like, it's so funny how like there are countless film student nerds trying to do like a truly surrealist, disorienting, dreamlike thing. And not that this but someone who wasn't trying to really do that is doing it perfectly. But like the reaction to when he's like John Blue, and the friend like stares him down and like thinks back and like thinks about which Johns were on the list of names, and he just says, "Okay, John." Lets him stay.
Of all the primary colors.
There's also, I can't even remember what he says. Man. But what does he say when he's pointing the rifle at him in the kitchen?
Oh God, that's what
they do this. Yeah.
That was gonna be my line. I had to do this shit. It's one of the greatest fucking lines in movie history. But if you guys have never seen Dogface, a Trap House Horror, we bonded off of this, and I bring that up because this is why this show is so special to me, because we've all bonded over one thing, and that is movies. And me and Pat and Erik and Dom, we talk every single day about these things, and it just feels really great to finally have you guys back doing this. It's almost like we never even left. It feels really good to do this, and I just thank you guys for I cold called and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing on this day?" And everyone pulled up and everyone came through and we made it happen. I don't know where this is gonna live, but wherever it is, let us know if you guys want to see more of this. Maybe we do it, every couple of months when something big happens, and we could just get back together, because this felt good. This felt right. What about you guys?
Yeah, I love it. Also, shout out to Mark for this beautiful template that he provided for us. But yeah, man, it's always a very cathartic thing to put down our phones, where we are constantly bombarding each other with takes and tweets and all the things, and kind of doing a more long form thing where we really get to metabolize our thoughts. And yeah, man, it's always fun. And I wouldn't want to do this with any other pals.
For sure.
It's fun doing this like State of the Union kind of thing instead of actually talking about a specific movie. Not that that's bad, but like the very wide-ranging, easy-flowing conversation.
Yeah, I like that.
I was literally just telling my wife, I was like, yo, the hardest thing to do when we were doing late fees was that we had to watch a whole like franchise in a week. And I was like, it was burning me the fuck out. I could not do it. It was very hard to do. Like James Bond.
I can do that, but I can't also do a pod on it. I can do a pod, or I can do a whole franchise.
The James Bond one was probably going to be my fifth reason, honestly. Like James Bond one, I was like, I don't know why I agreed to do this. This was crazy.
That was hard.
But thank you guys for listening. As always, check us out. Check me on the BlkPrint and the A Show. Check out Dom at his page on YouTube. Fucking blowing up. Armchair Auteur. He does so much good stuff on there. Check him out every Friday morning over here, afternoon-ish in the East Coast. I don't know time anymore. I don't have a job, but thank you. But he does great stuff over there. Leave him a comment. I leave him Q&As and stuff every single day. I think the last thing I was going to ask was, what would it take James Gunn to give you faith in his DCU? I'm going to leave that on last week's.
Good. Yeah, I'm going to do that one because that's actually good.
Yeah, I want to ask you what you think James Gunn could do to give you hope for that. So
I got one comment for that. James Gunn, that's boring as hell.
Why do you keep bringing up Family Guy DVD? Anyway, it's super inside joke. It means nothing. No clue why you just brought that out.
Thank you guys. Audio medium.
We gotta get here. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
This is fun, y'all. Peace.
Peace.